Angels during the regular season had a record of 99 and 63, including postseason 110 and 68. Team had 43 come from behind victories. 22 of those wins were in the Angels' last at bat. In the postseason, the Angels were 8-1 in home games at Edison Field. Beat the Yankees in the I want you to know, I took off my Yankees championship ring before the first game of the ALDS. I sure did. Wore that thing all season and I couldn't wear it anymore, and I've never worn it since.
We got a big one for you.
That's right, I hope so. Beat the Yankees 3-1 in the ALDS. Had an 8-run inning in Game 4. Who would ever forget that outburst? I don't think the Yankees have forgotten it, that's for sure. Then it was on to Minnesota to take on the Twins, best-of-7 series in the ALCS. And the Angels outdid themselves in that series. Had a 10-run 5th inning in Game 5. Won that game 13-5 after dropping the first game of that series, won 4 in a row. And then it was the Barry Bonds and the San Francisco Giants. And boy, what a series that was. 7-game series. And it went back and forth. And once again, the Angels dropped the opening game of that World Series and eventually got behind 3-2, heading back home. I remember I asked Mike after Game 5, the Angels are down 3-2. I said, Mike, true story, does any team have momentum right now? And I was kind of thinking maybe he would say the Giants after the way they had beaten the Angels 16-4 in Game 5. And he said, Terry, he said, the only team with momentum will be the team that clinches. And he was right. He was right. And who could ever forget Game 6, the way the Angels came back? I got to say, the greatest baseball game that I've ever been a part of. To see the heart of the Angels down 5-0 in the bottom of the 7th inning, 1 out. And then the way the club came back and Spees hit the 3-run homer, and all of a sudden it's 5-3 and we're right back in the game. And then in the bottom of the 8th, Aaron leads things off with a home run. It's 5-4 and we're only a run behind, and you could just tell the Giants were getting nervous on the field and in their dugout. And then Troy Gloss drives in a couple of runs with his double, and all of a sudden Game 6 goes to the Angels and we go on to Game 7. And even though the Giants got the first run on the board in Game 7, the Angels came back and, of course, won Game 7. And I remember someone had told me, and this was while we were on our run, someone had said, you know, the team that ends up going far in the postseason and the team that ends up being successful in the postseason is the team that gets contributions from unsuspecting heroes. And they were right. Game 7, John Lackey steps up and starts that game. We weren't sure if it was going to be John or Ramon Ortiz, but John Lackey, a rookie, steps up and ends up being the winning pitcher. And then the pitcher that comes in after John Lackey is Brendan Donnelly, and he does his job. And then a player that you're familiar with from just a couple seasons ago, he might not have shined here, but boy, did he shine in the playoffs for the Angels, was Frankie Rodriguez. What a job he did. Unbelievable. Of course, Percy comes in and notches the save, and the Angels just got unbelievable relief and a great start, of course, from Big John Lackey. So I'm sure our honored guest here can recap the series and the playoffs and the season much better than me, but it's my pleasure indeed to present to you the 2002 American League Manager of the Year and Manager of the World Champion Anaheim Angels, Mike Scioscia.
Well, it's really an honor to be here, and it makes it a little nicer when you can talk about being a world champion after last year. We had a terrific season, terrific ball club, great makeup. I think everything you could ever want in a baseball team, the Anaheim Angels had in 2002. They're a fun club to watch. Everyone comes up here and says, what a fun year, what a fun team to watch. And my response is, hey, it was fun for me to sit and watch this ball club play. And all of our coaches feel the same way. They did it the way the game should be played, and we know that'll continue. It's a great team. 2002 had some rough edges, as Terry pointed out. We got off to a rough start, 6-14, and Mr. Dorn, there were some days I came to the park and I wanted to go up sell peanuts and kind of hide out and not have to face what we were going through. But it was, I think it was an exercise in perseverance. Our guys, they knew the challenge ahead of them. They had the attitudes and the desire to meet those challenges. And we had a good baseball team, and a lot of people maybe didn't really see that until we got into the season and started to play our type of game. It's a funny word, attitude. And there's a lot of youngsters in here that I see, and a lot of guys that have a passion for baseball. I can see that already. Attitude's a funny word. Our club had the type attitude it takes to be champions. And when the type attitude that our team had meets opportunity, great things happen. And that's what we saw this year with the Anaheim Angels. I'm going to tell my favorite story in the world. And I might have told it last time I was here, but it really hammers home a great point, and I think points out the attitude and the attitude you need to be successful. So all you youngsters, listen. There's a lady down in Louisiana, and I didn't know this, but New Orleans is actually below sea level. Anyone here from New Orleans? Louisiana, anywhere? Anybody here good in geography? Okay. It's below sea level. So when they have rains, people start to panic, and they have these torrential rains start to come down. So the policemen walk by and start knocking on people's doors saying, hey, you have to evacuate this area. And there's an elderly lady there, and she says, no, God's going to save me. So he walks away. So pretty soon the floodwaters come up. It comes up so high that she has to go to the upstairs second floor. Now the only way to get there is a boat. And the fire department comes by in a boat. And the fireman says, ma'am, get in the boat. You have to evacuate. There's going to be trouble. She says, no, God's going to save me. Well, a little higher, the waters keep rising. So she's got to go up on the top of her roof, on the very tippy top of her chimney, to get out of the waters. Well, now a helicopter comes by from the Coast Guard and says, ma'am, get in the helicopter. We have to evacuate. We want to save you. And she says, no, God's going to save me. So the helicopter flies away. Well, a second later, the water goes up. She slips off the roof. She falls down and she drowns. Now she goes up to the gates of heaven. St. Peter's there. And he looks at her and he says, ma'am, what are you doing here? And she says, I thought God was going to save me. And he says, I sent you a policeman, a fireman, and a helicopter. What more do you want? Well, that's the opportunity that I think all of us face as we go through our life. And sometimes we don't notice it. Sometimes we don't see it. But if you have that attitude, that's positive, and that attitude that'll make you a champion, those opportunities will come out and will shine like a beacon. And that's what our team saw. I think everyone saw the type of team we had, the chemistry, that we were championship caliber. And no matter how many people would write us off or talk about the 42-year history of futility in the Angel organization, which they never become world champions, these guys were undaunted. And that's why it's proud for me, win or lose, to go out there every night with these guys, write their names in line, and watch them play baseball, because they play it the way it should be. If there's any youngster in here and he can't watch David Eckstein or Darren Erstad or Garrett Anderson or Troy Gloss or Adam Kennedy or Troy Percival or Benjamin Molina, if he can't watch those guys get ready to play a game and play it the right way, then he's missing a great lesson. So I know we had a great year with Anaheim. I also want to talk about the great opportunity that you have when you go to when you're here at Rancho Cucamonga and you go to a Quakes game. Not only are you seeing future Major League ball players, but you're at probably the best stadium I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of stadiums around this United States. The best stadium, the best setting, the best atmosphere you could ever want if you were a ball player or a fan. Don't take it for granted. It's a gift. I know you guys have been to the stadium a lot. You support it. We're very, very proud of our connection with Rancho Cucamonga and the Quakes. And I know that next year when you go there, just keep in mind you're going there and you're going to see future Major League ball players. And as you pull out your scorecards from 3 and 4 years ago, I'm sure those names are already cropping up, and that has to be fun. And if I had that opportunity when I was a youngster, I'm originally from Philadelphia, and although at the time the Phillies were considered a minor league team when I was growing up, we didn't have the opportunity to get close to players that you have here. So take it for granted. We're going to have a fun year in 2003, and as we really head out in spring training next week with the thought in mind of defending a world championship, it sounds like an awesome responsibility. Our players are going to attack the game the same way they did all last year. I think we'll go out and play the same style of baseball that you guys have seen us play for over 162 games last year in the regular season and the playoffs. It's an exciting style of baseball, and I hope you get a chance to get down to Edison Field and see us. God bless you, and thank you very much.
As you're well aware, when you came in, many of you filled out cards to ask questions of Mike and Bobby and me, and we're going to get to some of those right now. And the first one comes from Matt, and it's for Mike. And Mike, Matt wants to know, what was the best moment in the 2002 World Series?
The best moment in 2002 World Series was when Darren Erstad was waving, calling off our right fielder Alex Ochoa to make that catch. And when I saw his arms going up, that he had that, he had the ball. What a feeling, because we knew we were there. There's no way Darren was going to miss that ball. I think if that ball was 5 rows up in the outfield, he would have jumped up and caught it anyway. That was the best feeling in the World Series.
All right, this one comes from Jason Ackerman, and this is from Mike as well. What did you tell your team during the middle of the 7th inning of Game 6 of the World Series when they were down by 5 runs?
The great thing about our ball club was we didn't have to say anything to them. And I think the same attitude they had when we lost the first game of every series, or we hit some rough spots in the playoffs or we were behind, we saw that same attitude after the going to the bottom of the 7th inning. We're down 5-0, and at that time we have 9 outs left. Our guys had the same attitude. Hey, let's go 1 hitter at a time, 1 at bat at a time, 1 pitch at a time. We'll get back in this. So we felt really good about the way our guys were going to go out there and play the game. It doesn't always lead to a win with that attitude, but we knew that if we didn't win that ball game, it wasn't because our guys tried to do too much or got taken out of their game. And they were very, very relaxed and were focused, and they were ready to get after it. And that was obviously a great comeback win for us. It was the best game I've ever seen at any level of baseball. And a lot of people have said the same thing. So it was a fun game, Game 6.
Next one is for Mike from Frank Nelson. And Mike, it says, you and Mickey Hatcher seem so different. How do your personalities work together?
Thank God we're different. Mickey's one of my best friends in the world. I've known Mickey since 1977. We were playing A-ball in Clinton, Iowa. And Mickey and I think his understanding of hitting and his grassroots approach to teaching the art of hitting, I think it's unmatched with anyone I've ever been around in baseball. He's incredible. If you went out and played golf with Mickey Hatcher, you'd be a better golfer after 6 holes. If you went out and shot baskets with him, you'd be a better basketball player after 10 minutes. He has an incredible connection with people, and he does it in different ways. He's got his little rally hat. He'll turn it all backwards, do whatever he has to do to get our club going. But the bottom line is he's a great teacher of hitting, and he's just a great member of our staff. And I don't know too many people like him, Terry. So the fact that we're different doesn't bother me.
Okay, here's one from Derek Dixon for Mike, and it says, do you think In the upcoming seasons after Troy Percival retires, Frankie Rodriguez may become the Angels' closer.
Well, Francisco Rodriguez has an incredible future. I think that eventually he's going to be able to do a lot of things, and closer is one of them. Right now, the way we set up with Francisco Rodriguez setting up Troy Percival will give us one of the best 1-2 combinations in the game. I think eventually Francisco will have the ability to close, and he'll close some games out this year. As you know, Troy Percival, if he needs a day off here or there, Francisco will be available. But he has an incredible future, and I'm sure closer will be something that that he'll get very, very familiar with as you know, as time moves on. I want to say not too much time, because Troy Percival's got a lot of pitching left in him, Terry.
Sure does. Okay, the next one for Mike is from Orville Lint, and he says, Mike, I know coaching is a lot of stats, but last year's season, how much was it from the gut?
Looking at the size of my gut, you can say not too much. You know, coaching is funny. You know, I was very privileged to be a player for 15 seasons in the major leagues, and I played 4.5 seasons in the minor leagues, did a lot of playing. And there's a lot of statistics and a lot of knowledge and information you take out there when you're forming a game plan, and that carries over to this side when you're scouting, when you're getting your advanced reports, and when you're putting together tendencies, stats. They play a big part in it. But I think there comes a time when you have to trust your instincts and know that this matchup, even though maybe statistically it's not perfect, is the one at the time that you want. And with Buddy Black, who has a lot of experience, he's our pitching coach in the game, with guys like Mickey Hatcher, Joe Madden, Ron Renicky, Alfredo Griffin, who was played with me with the Dodgers and is one of the best baseball minds I've ever seen. I guess that instinct becomes a little less of a gut feeling and really more percentage. So yeah, statistics aren't everything, Terry, but I think it does play some part in trying to form some matchups you're trying to get.
All right, Mike, Rick Nelson wants to know your most memorable game as a player.
As a player, my most memorable game was Game 1 of the '88 World Series when we were playing the Oakland A's and I was playing with the Dodgers at the time. That absolutely was, up until Game 6 of this World Series, was the most exciting baseball or most exciting sports atmosphere I'd ever been around. And to say that how exciting Game 6 was this year, to surpass that, is really something. And there's a lot of people that are out there that have a very strong connection with 1988 and our team in 1988 and the style we played, and even they feel that Game 6 was the most exciting baseball game they've ever been around. But as a player, I would have to go back to the World Series 1988, Game 1.
Mike, the next question is from Melito Picasso, table 40. And you kind of touched on this. In 2003, what role will Frankie Rodriguez have in the pitching rotation? The same or maybe a starter?
Francisco, right now there's no plans to have him as a starter. I think he has too big a role as an impact reliever, and we're going to keep him in the bullpen, Terry, and give us one of the best bullpens in the league again.
Next up, Michael Lovelace wants to know, whose idea was it to play so aggressive as far as base running during the 2002 season? It was great to see.
Well, since it worked, I'll take credit for it. That was my blueprint all the way. Those guys didn't want to play that style, and I made them, and we won. How's that? No. We have an incredible staff, with the Angels. I already talked about a bunch of the guys, Mickey Hatcher, Alfredo Griffin, Joe Madden, Buddy Black. This was our third season. They're coming up as our fourth season. But as we started to look at a lot of the shortcomings we had in 2001, it became very, very apparent that there were some things that we really had to get refocused with on our ball club. Some guys were not running the base paths like they had got picked off when they were 8 years old, and the coach yelled at them, and they had mental scars from it, and weren't going to get picked off for their whole career. So we wanted to get guys back in the aggressive mode, and we wanted to let guys understand the style of play that we thought was going to be the best for them. And it really was, our staff got together and we managed to get the guys in the team to apply it, and I think you saw what happened. It was an exciting team to watch.
Like this one comes from Gail Hobach, I believe it is, and Gail wants to know, give us your favorite Tommy Lasorda story.
I have some great Tommy Lasorda stories, but I think you guys want to get out of here before 2 in the morning. One of the best was we had a rain delay in Atlanta. You have to remember that Tommy's one of the most competitive people that God put on the face of the earth. Probably the most competitive person. Well, we're winning this game in Atlanta in 1985, and it's the 3rd inning. We're up 9-0. And if anybody knows anything about Atlanta area or Georgia or Florida or southeastern United States, you know that it can rain in a heartbeat and hard and heavy and come from nowhere and last 10 minutes or 10 hours. You don't know. So we're up 9-0 in the 3rd inning, and it looks like the skies have just opened up and someone's got a big water hose, and it's like you're dumping it on an anthill. It is pouring. Well, of course, they put the tarp on. They take us off the field, and it's pouring for about 2 straight hours. And all Tommy can think of is, all we need is 2 more innings out of the arteries, we win this game. Well, the umpire, Harry Wendelstad, comes into our clubhouse to talk to Tommy, and he's saying, Tommy, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. We're probably going to give another 15 minutes. We just got the weather report. This is going to last, about 4 hours. And Tommy goes, what weather report did you look at? I just got a weather report. Right, they said this thing is stopping in 15 minutes. And he says, okay, whatever. So a half hour, it's still raining. Howard Wendelstad comes over, and Tommy goes, I just got a report. I just got off the phone and says it's stopping in 12 minutes. You can't even think about calling this game. Well, he got another hour and a half out of Harry Wendelstad. We got just enough time to take the tarps off, fix the field, play another 3 innings, and it started pouring. And we're up about like 11-1 at this time, and it's going into the top of the 6th, and it is just pouring like you won't believe. So they put the tarps back on, and Harry comes over, and Tommy goes, I just got a report saying it's going to be here all night. It's going to rain till 6 in the morning. You better call this game because we're not staying around that long. And they called the game.